The first Sunday Daniel Parker attended Calvary Church, 3 people moved to different pews. He noticed. He always noticed. 38 years of reading rooms, job sites, border crossings, waiting halls, had made him fluent in the language of people who would rather not be near you. He sat where he was, his son Noah pressed against his left side, and he fixed his eyes on the water stain, spreading across the ceiling above the altar like a slow, patient wound. He didn't say anything about the stain that morning. He filed it away the way he filed most things now, quietly, precisely, waiting to understand what it meant. The storm that finished the roof came 3 weeks later. Daniel stood on the sidewalk in the rain and watched the damage with the specific attention of someone who has spent years knowing exactly how bad things are by looking at them from the ground. Flashing gone on the northeast corner. At least 4 sections of underlayment exposed. Whatever was holding the ridge together had been holding it on faith alone for longer than anyone had admitted. He went inside and found Pastor Elaine trying to reach a contractor on her phone. He stood in the doorway of her office until she looked up. "Buy the materials," he said. "I'll do the work." She looked at him for a long moment, the kind of look that is trying to calculate something politely. "Daniel, we couldn't ask." "You didn't ask," he said. "I offered." He started the following Saturday, alone at first, which was how he preferred to begin, before anyone could have opinions about his process. He was methodical in the way that skilled tradespeople are methodical, which is to say almost invisible from the outside, but precise underneath. Noah appeared at 10 in the morning, with a thermos of coffee Sarah had sent, and asked if he could stay. And Daniel handed him a measuring tape and showed him how to hold it properly without being asked twice. George Bennett arrived at noon. He was 67, retired contractor, and he introduced himself by standing at the base of the ladder for 4 minutes studying Daniel's work on the northeast corner before climbing up without invitation. Daniel said nothing. George walked the ridge slowly, crouched twice, pressed his palm flat against a section of new flashing. "Your pitch angles are clean," George said finally. It sounded like an argument he had lost. "Thank you," Daniel said. George stayed for the rest of the day. He came back the next Saturday without being asked, and the one after that. And gradually the project accumulated people the way honest work sometimes does. Sarah's bread appearing on the folding table by the side entrance. Emily translating measurements when Daniel's English ran out at technical edges. 2 teenagers from the youth group who came to help and stayed because Noah made them laugh. The box appeared on a Thursday in the 3rd week, when Daniel pulled a section of damaged timber near the west gable. It was metal, sealed with age, roughly the size of a shoebox. He brought it down himself and set it on the table, and didn't open it until Pastor Elaine was there. Inside, photographs, handwritten letters, a church register with surnames he didn't recognize, documents from the look of them, dating back 70 or 80 years. He looked at the register. Displaced families, recorded in careful ink. Arrival dates, countries of origin, small notations about who had helped them find work or housing. He set it down carefully and looked at Pastor Elaine. "Some of these names," she said quietly, scanning the pages. "I think the Holloways." She stopped, started again. George's grandmother, her maiden name. The silence that followed was the kind that rearranges things slowly, rather than all at once. Not everyone in the congregation was moved by the discovery. Some people found it interesting the way old documents are interesting, historically, at a comfortable distance. 2 members said openly that comparing their grandparents' immigration to the current situation was an oversimplification. And they weren't entirely wrong. And Daniel did not argue with them because he understood that truth is not always the thing that changes minds. What changed things, gradually, was smaller. George teaching Noah to read a spirit level, Emily sitting beside an elderly man named Harold Marsh, helping him organize the fragile letters. Discovering one in his grandmother's handwriting that described feeling invisible in a country that had technically welcomed her. Harold reading it twice, very quietly, before folding it back. Emily didn't tell anyone what he said afterward. She told Daniel later that night in the kitchen. He just said, "I didn't know she felt that." The job Daniel lost in the 4th week, he hid for 5 days. He went through the motions of leaving in the morning because he couldn't locate the words to tell Sarah, and he sat in the public library and read the certification requirements for licensed roofers in the state, and the gap between where he was and what was required felt like something he had no right to cross. He had stopped being a man with a profession the night they left everything behind. He wasn't sure he remembered how to become one again. George found out through the contractor network, the way people in trades always find things out. He came to the church site on a Saturday and didn't mention it until they were both on the ridge. "You should sit the certification exam," George said. "I've looked at the requirements." "I know you have." George pressed a new section of flashing down with the heel of his hand. "I have a job that needs a second pair of licensed hands, legitimately paid. You'd be working under my ticket while you study." Daniel looked out over the neighborhood, the particular view from a roof that shows you the tops of things, the parts people don't bother to make presentable because they don't think anyone sees them. "I failed the written portion," Daniel said, months later, to no one in particular. He was talking to Noah, who had asked how the exam went. He'd taken it again 3 weeks after, and passed. Noah nodded with the gravity of a 9-year-old who understands that trying twice is simply how things work. The church was full in the way it hadn't been in years. People who had worked on the roof, people who had eaten Sarah's bread, people who had read the letters, and people who hadn't. People who still weren't entirely sure how they felt about any of it, and had come anyway, which Daniel had come to understand was its own form of decency. The metal box sat near the entrance, photographs arranged around it. Beside it was a new box, empty, with a small card, for future generations to leave their own stories. Daniel had brought a photograph, not of himself on the roof, of the Saturday 3 weeks in, when everyone had gathered below for the lunch Sarah had organized. 18 people, in varying states of paint, plaster dust and good humor, standing together under a sky that was threatening rain and hadn't delivered yet. He folded it once and placed it in the new box without ceremony. The service started. Rain came against the windows, steady, real, the kind that would have found every weakness in the old roof and made itself known. Noah looked up. The ceiling was dry. He grinned, the sudden uncalculated grin of a 9-year-old who has just received proof that something works, and leaned against his father's arm. Daniel looked at the ceiling too, then at George, who caught his eye from across the aisle and gave the smallest nod. Then at Harold Marsh, who was sitting beside Emily and explaining something in a low voice while she listened. He had come to repair a roof. That was the whole of what he'd intended. Somewhere between the broken timber and the old letters and the shared lunches and the failed exam and the second attempt, something else had been repaired too. Not completely, not permanently, but enough. Enough to call it a beginning. Kindness doesn't erase what was lost. It simply offers the first solid ground from which people can start building again. And sometimes, that is everything. If this story touched your heart, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. Let's spread more stories of kindness and hope together.